Okie doke. So the third video on technological change. So what and technological change and growth. So what drives growth? Guess what? Technological change. Let's have a look. Could it be accumulation of production factors? So here we've only got labor and no capital, no production factors. Hard to produce much. Now we've got some capital, now we can produce, it's great. Now we've got lots more capital, we can produce lots more. I'm not sure. Now we've got absolutely loads of capital now. So this is nonsense, right? Countries don't grow simply by accumulating more of the same kind of capital that they've already got. Okay. Is it because we work harder? Okay, so here we are working 6 hours a day, having fun 6 hours, eating 6 hours, and sleeping 6. Now we're working 12 hours a day, and maybe we can almost double our output. If we work 18 hours a day, and we're still only, at the best, tripling our output. Clearly we can't work any more than that. But economic growth, we're like doubling output, quadrupling, times 16, times 32. Okay, it's not because we're working harder. Actually, we work shorter hours today. When we look at the data, we work shorter hours today than we did 100 years ago. When industrial societies were kicked off 100, 200 years ago, depending on where you were, the hours were incredibly long. And now, since then, we worked less and less, basically. Although, by the way, that process has actually leveled off the last 20 or 30 years, which we'll talk about later in the course. So, it's not capital accumulation, it's not hard work. What is it? It's technological progress. So here we are in the Stone Age, as you can see. Now we're in the Iron Age, perhaps. And now we've actually got some proper tools, and then we've got electric power and so on. Okay, and there's no obvious end to this process of technological change, unlike the benefits of capital accumulation, the benefits of working harder. They very quickly run out, right? But it's not obvious where this process of designing new technologies which can make us more productive, both make more of the same stuff we had before, but above all, make new stuff which is more valuable than the old stuff. It's not obvious where that process is going to end. And there's a classic paper in the literature, Robert Solow, who got the Nobel Prize for this a long time ago, demonstrated that technological progress is the fundamental driver of growth, using a mathematical modeling based on the same reasoning that I've just showed you. That the old idea was that you grew through accumulating capital, but he showed no, that doesn't make sense, right? We have to have better technologies. So, how does that actually play out? So here we are in a fairly primitive economy. We're making some very basic tools which we use to produce some pretty basic food, and that's about it according to this picture. How can we grow? Well, we need to invent some new technologies which will be need new tools and new products. Okay, so we invent new tools, we invent new production processes, we invent new products, and then once we've done the inventing bit, we need to change the capital stock, renew the capital stock with the new staff and new factories to make the new products. And this is a cycle. That's why we call it a vintage model, because there's cycles of capital renewal and new products, and then again capital renewal, new products, and so on. And of course, those cycles, they occur in different rates in different sectors of the economy and in different firms. Yeah. So it's not that the economy as a whole has a sort of 20-year cycles with a big phase of investment and then just making the same stuff for 20 years and then another investment phase. But a firm might well have that kind of cycle, right? How long are those cycles? It depends hugely on what sector you're in, right? If you're in energy generation, those sectors like electricity generation, those cycles might be like 50 years, yeah? You build a power station and that's it. Basically, you're stuck with that technology. It's a huge investment. You're not about to switch to some other technology super fast, even if some other technology becomes more advantageous because you've made that big investment. So you'll keep running your plant for a long time until finally at some point either the plant is wearing out or the advantages of the new technique become so great that you scrap the old plant, even though it still has some useful life left in it. If we think of the shift from coal power to wind, gas, renewable, or gas power and renewables, we see in many countries coal-fired power stations have been scrapped, even though they were sort of still in working order. But it's like, we don't want to carry on doing this. It's polluting. It's leading to carbon dioxide emissions, etc. So that's a sector with a very long cycles. But if you think of like mobile phones or whatever, think of like Nokia. Whole firms can like come and go in the space of 10 or 15 years. You know, Nokia was the sort of market leader 25 years ago, I guess. Huge firm. Now it's more or less gone, right, as far as I know. So you can imagine the fixed capital for producing mobile phones. I mean, I'm not an expert on that, but I'm sure it's being renewed much more often than in the energy generation sector. Okay, but each time we have a new wave of capital, a new wave of production techniques and products, most likely the new products will be more valuable and produced with fewer inputs of labor and capital, and therefore making the value of that total basket, what we can produce, go up. Okay. Right. So that's the vintage model. Yeah, we're exchanging, gradually replacing capital goods, replacing production techniques, making new products in cycles. So, take-home message 3, economic growth is driven by technological progress, raising the productivity of inputs. New technologies are often embodied in capital. And I think that's the end of this one. Yeah.